Now, the rest of the story.
It's a little dusty. So what's the timeline here? This stuff's been cut. What is today? Today is Wednesday. The stuff was cut Wednesday? Last Wednesday? Tuesday, maybe? That sounds about right. Maybe Tuesday. I say it's all just kind of mixed into one big beating here lately. So we got rain. When did we get rain? Monday? No, Sunday. So we were gonna rake this up Sunday, and we had problems with the 4020 on Saturday, which in turn meant that this didn't get baled Saturday with the rest of the stuff, which is not the end of the world. Everything that's left, which is approximately, well, I got 12 acres of mine of waterways, and Dad and just a little bit of Ryan's. I can't say Ryan's too much because there's like maybe 3 bales over there if I'm lucky, but the rest of Dad's that he has to rake up yet is looking something like, I'm gonna be generous, I'm gonna say 5 acres. So we're gonna go through and finish up the last of, officially the last of Dad's and Ryan's. Then all that'll be left is the valley, which I'm hoping to get cut. There I go swearing again. I'm hoping to get that made, cut, probably Saturday. I was just ill-informed that, well, ill-informed is in the information made me ill, not that it was, you know, poor information. But I was just told that the rain coming on Friday, which today is Wednesday,